Alright, ladies and gentlemen, it seems that we have started. While we're waiting for the last member of 3D Max to join in, we will just go through the picking phase because apparently both teams do have another cup to get to. So, this is the Fragbite THOR Open Qualifier number 6 matchup between 3D Max and Fnatic RC, the North American squad. Their European squad just got eliminated in the quarterfinals, but this is the North American squad. They have made it to the semifinals to face against 3D Max, who eliminated MTW in the quarterfinals. So this should be a very interesting matchup. Fnatic RC North America. A team that wasn't really well known, not really that highly regarded when the Fnatic organization picked them up, but definitely cannot judge a book by its colors. Remember Complexity, remember they were all unknowns, remember Dignitas, remember they were all unknowns. This could be the next generation of North American Dota that could surprise everybody. So we're gonna go through the first picks and bans. This is the semifinals, so it's a best out of 3 series. 3D Max gonna ban out the Barrett-Emil. Fnatic North America bans out the Undying. It was actually the North Americans who made Undying very popular, along with the Asians. Really taking advantage of his incredible mid-game prowess. And Fnatic RC North America decides to ban out the Rubik. So I wonder what 3D Max will do. Will they ban out the Bounty Hunter or the Templar Assassin? Or will they leave one of the others in the pool? Will they just ban out something like the Darkseer and leave both Bounty Hunter and Templar Assassin still in the pool? Bounty Hunter, a hero who's been so successful as of late. Really powerful hero because of that track, just giving everybody a huge amount of gold, allowing them to get to an item advantage and to an experience advantage once they get those ganks rolling in. Well, not experience advantage, but you know, that minus armor does help. So 3D Max taking a long time to think of who they will ban. I think Fnatic should first pick Bounty Hunter if he's still left in the pool, and Templar Assassin is going to receive the ban, but I wouldn't be too surprised to see Fnatic North America pick up the Darkseer rather than the Bounty Hunter. It's just that in this tournament, Darkseer has just been on a losing streak. He really does need a lot of experience, and he's weak to some early game aggression, early game pushes, and Darkseer, very strong mid to late game hero for an intelligence hero, but early game strategies do really mess him up. But Twin Edge Dragon Jakiro is going to be the first pick by Fnatic RC North America. Pretty solid choice. It's not like 3D Max are going to pick up both the Bounty Hunter and the Darkseer, because they're both offlane heroes traditionally. Of course, Darkseer could go in the jungle, could go in the mid lane as well. So a pretty versatile hero, but most likely will not be picked up with these first 2 picks by 3D Max. 3D Max actually beat MTW in a very exciting game. I think Shiver cast that because I was waiting for the other semifinals match, but it didn't actually get played. So I was a bit sad that I couldn't cast the MTW 3D Max match. But it'll be interesting to see who they pick up. I think 3D Max really won on the back of their Templar Assassin, if I remember that game correctly. And of course, if you want to watch that VOD, go to twitch.tv/GGNetShiver, and you can check out that VOD yourself. But 3D Max actually taking quite a while. They do pick up the Bounty Hunter, so that leaves Fnatic North America the Darkseer pick if they want to go with that. So Bounty Hunter will most likely be in the offline position for 3D Max. So they are very versatile on how they want to lane their other picks. And they pick up the Magnus as well, so Magnus will most likely be in the mid lane. Probably helped out from time to time by support. But Magnus, pretty powerful hero these days. Reverse polarity, if it goes off, is probably the best spell in the game, best ultimate in the game. If it manages to hit, you know, 3 or 4 people, then you should essentially just team wipe them in a matter of moments. And that Empower Cleave damage, the Shockwave spam ability, is way too ridiculous. But the most notable change was that 800 to 1200 increase on the skewer. It went from 800 to 1200 range in the last patch. Really helped out Magnus's escapability. Does not need to rely so much heavily on the Blink Dagger. Of course, he still gets Blink Dagger, but now he can escape from a lot more situations. And that skewer definitely a key component in Magnus's rise to popularity. Meanwhile, Fnatic, they're not too lacking in the damage either. They pick up the Sven, Magnus Sven, a very strong combination, so probably picked up the Sven so they can prevent 3D Max are picking up the Sven themselves. Sven, of course, with that God Strength increased to 200% damage at level 3. So very strong in the early stages of the game. 150 damage at level 1. Very, very powerful hero. Vacuum in Ice Path into the Stormbolt. And with a couple cleaves of Chen, or a couple cleaves of Sven, we'll just go to town on all these heroes. And speaking of Chen, Chen is going to be picked up by 3D Max, so they're going to pick up a jungle hero. And we'll see how Fnatic, RC, North America decide to push the next couple bans. Will they start banning out supports? Like maybe a Venomancer Disruptor? No, they're going to ban out Lifestealer. Lifestealer, pretty powerful carry. One of the carries who can do quite well against Sven because he steals so much life, but Sven should just be able to out DPS him. But Fnatic, North America, I guess they just don't like playing against Lifestealer. Meanwhile, 3D Max making the smart decision starting to ban out mid-solo heroes since they know Fnatic does not currently have a mid-solo hero that they could use very effectively. Wouldn't be too surprised to see something like a Nightstalker ban, or even a Rubik ban. Oh no, Rubik was already banned by Fnatic RC, my bad. But yeah, so mid lane is pretty sealed for 3D Max. Off lane is pretty sealed for 3D Max as well. They have the bounty hunter. Chen is going to be in the jungle. Probably just going to farm until level 5 or 6 before going for the push. So we'll see how the last picks will be a support and a carry for 3D Max. And they really want a carry who does a lot of physical damage that they can really benefit from the Empower Cleave. And Fnatic North America definitely taking that into account. That's why they're banning all these carries. I guess they really just are banning carries that they don't like to play against, and you know, there's so many strong supports these days that you can't really ban them all. But, like I keep saying, this is the most versatile carry patch we've seen in a long while. Pretty much any carry is viable, except for Bloodseeker, because he is always going to be terrible, apparently. Meanwhile, Fnatic, North America, taking their time, trying to decide who they're going to ban. Really want to ban out a physical damage dealer. That's why I'm still a little bit puzzled why they ban out the Lifestealer, because Magnus and Power will not work through the Lifestealer 6-second rage. But I guess Lifestealer's rage against Ice Path, against Stormbolt, against Vacuum might just be a little bit too difficult for Fnatic North America to overcome, so they just removed him from the equation entirely.
5 seconds remaining.
Meanwhile, really taking a lot of time, going to dip into some of their reserve time just to pick up this last ban. So they're really thinking about who 3D Max is likely to pick up. Maybe something like a Lone Druid? That could be pretty interesting. Empower the bear, go to town on the tower. But I do think Lone Druid is quite susceptible to Darkseer and Sven, who can just sort of focus down the hero, vacuum them together, and just cleave the heck out of them. Well, you can pretty much say that about any hero, but Lone Druid especially, since Lone Druid is not likely to get BKB. But yeah, gonna be pretty interested to see how this last ban shapes up. They ban out the Juggernaut. Well, maybe they're really worried about the healing ward in conjunction with that Hand of God, and Juggernaut does do an insane amount of damage with that critical strike. Blade Dance with the Empower could be a devastating combination. Meanwhile, 3D Max finish out their bans with the Enigma, so really the only jungler left in the pool is the Enchantress, but Fnatic North America gonna pick up the Wisp for themselves. Wisp and Sven, a very, very deadly combination. Overcharge with the Sven, God Strength on, you know, getting around the map with the Relocate and the Stormbolt. Really, really deadly pairing. And gives Sven some much needed mobility. Darkseer cannot surge everybody, so Wisp giving Sven that increased movement speed, and in conjunction with that Warcry, gonna mean that Sven's gonna be all around the map all the time.
5 seconds remaining.
Meanwhile, looks like 3D Max is taking quite a bit of time on who they want to pick up. Running out of reserve time, they pick up the Shadow Demon, so there's their support. Now all they need to do is pick up their carry in the safe lane. And since they do have last pick, they could pick up something crazy. I think in this situation, something like an Alchemist could be a pretty solid pickup. And meanwhile, Fnatic North America gonna pick up the Pudge for their mid lane. So this is gonna be a pretty exciting game, as Pudge, of course, makes so much magic happen. And Pudge Wisp, another devastating combination, can get all across the map with Dismember, Rot, and Hook, catching heroes out of position, getting a ridiculous amount of stun damage. And man, pretty much everybody synergizes well with Wisp. But who will the carry that 3D Max picks up? Who will they pick up as their carry? I think something like an Alchemist could be a pretty solid pickup, something like a Clinks. Wouldn't be able to tear through the HP pools because Fnatic North America, very, very tanky heroes. All of their heroes do get a lot of HP. Wisp is probably the squishiest hero, even though he is a strength hero, but Tiny's going to even pick up. And of course, Tiny with Aghanim Scepter in conjunction with the Empower and Cleave damage, going to be pretty strong. But there is going to be a remake since the last player from 3D Max did not join, so we'll be back with the next, or with the remake very soon. But yeah, can't believe I forgot about Tiny, especially with that Empower damage by Magnus. Tiny's going to hit even harder and for even more cleave damage than initially expected. It would be pretty ridiculous to see how much damage Tiny does, but of course Tiny has to get to that point. And we'll see if Fnatic North America really allows the game to drag on that far, because if it goes to late game, it'll just be a bloodbath, because Sven versus Tiny is going to be really crazy to watch. But I do think 3D Max does have the advantage because they do have reverse polarity. Very short cooldown for such a great ultimate. But the last player from 3D Max has joined in. Of course, Crit going to be stand-in. He's the quintessential European stand-in, it seems. Alright, gain 3 equals EU. So, getting back into this game, pretty predictable lane. It's going to have Chen in the jungle, Shadow Demon supporting the Tiny in the safe lane, Magnus in the mid lane, Down Air in the off lane. Meanwhile, on the side of Fnatic, RC North America, Pudge is going to be in the mid lane, Darkseer going to be in the off lane, and Wisp and Jakiro going to be helping out Sven in the safe lane. But Jakiro will probably just roam around a bit. Maybe they're going to do Wisp Pudge mid lane, as BS role is the call on this map drawing chat thing. But all the heroes are going to be picked, so we can finally get into the semifinals, game number 1. This is a best of 3 series. And if Fnatic North America win the whole thing, hopefully Fnatic, the sponsor, will be kind enough to send them all out to Sweden, because you do have to pay your way to get there. But if you do get there, you get the chance to compete for around $20,000 in cash prizes. So, going to be pretty interested to see how that shapes up, if that is going to be the situation. But still a lot of strong teams still left in the pool. Pulse and versus Team Zero is on the other side of the bracket. Pulse, of course, the Swedish team featuring Waga, Region, Mini, Fishbone, and a lot of strong Swedish players. And Team Zero featuring people like Hiroki, Feta, Alex, or RMN, and Black, who already qualified for No Tidehunter, but No Tidehunter did reform without Black. Now have Loda and Aki, and S4 Eternal Envy, and Honorable Bulldog still on No Tidehunter. So Black trying to qualify for the LAN for the second time. We'll see if he has that magic, but that is a matchup that I cannot wait to watch if it starts soon. But we'll introduce the players and the teams. That is a matchup discussion for another time, as we have Smurf playing the Sven, Derp playing the Twin-Head Dragon, Jakiro, Whitebeard playing the Pudge, Rolo. You only roll once, or rolling only one. Never mind. I'm going to stop. As Rolo is going to be playing the Wisp, Tobacco is going to be playing the Darkseer. Meanwhile, on the side of 3 Max, we have Hyuk, or Hyas, playing the Chen. Hest, Joe Rot, or I'm just going to call him Rot, is going to be playing the Magnus. Crit is going to be playing the Shadow Demon. Ace is going to be playing the Bounty Hunter, and Noya is going to be playing the Tiny. So Darkseer making his way to the offlane does have some observer wards, so probably going to try to block off the post spot, but Crit is standing in place, does have an immediate pair of sentry wards. So did Darkseer just see a Tango? No, I guess that Tango did just die. But this camp going to be blocked off for Chen, so he won't be able to pick up a big creep from that, so that's something, but it doesn't prevent the pull spot, and Darkseer doesn't really need to prevent the pull spot. You can cast Ion Shell on a creep, then the creep will push all the way to the tower, and then the tower will hit for so much damage that the creep equilibrium will all be screwed up. It's really up to the carry player to really manage that creep equilibrium very well. Meanwhile, observer wards being placed all around the map by the Dire, placing out wards to really block off the movement and block out the positioning of the camps. I don't know why they blocked off this level 1 camp, maybe to stop the pull of a twin-head dragon. It's going to be interesting to see, but Bounty Hunter did pick up a haste rune, so he should be just fine. Going to harass Rolo a bit. Rolo going to return the favor as well. And meanwhile, there's going to be a skill run for Pudge already, as Magnus going to town on this Pudge. Really trying to show Pudge who's boss in this lane. And Pudge going to save up for that fast bottle. Did pick up some tangos and Stout Shield. So I guess he was given those tangos as a gift. Or maybe he's just been lasting very well. Looks like it might just be lasting very well, but probably given those tangos as a gift, as he already has a decent number of CS. Meanwhile, Bounty Hunter is staying the heck back, realizing that there are sentry wards on the ground. And he's going to take advantage of that. You know, Darkseer does have a point to search, and Shadow Demon going to try to harass as much as possible and try to bait out the surge before going to disruption, but Darkseer, being a melee hero, does have high damage, and if he put an Ion Shell on himself, he should be just fine. And Darkseer does not have to worry about the Chen coming in for a gank, as this camp already stacked, as he does place the sentry ward there. Crit going to go in for a bit of harassment, going to take a lot of damage, but disruption is going to be in place to stop the Darkseer movement. And now looks like they're trying to bait out the surge, but Avalanche not going to be in range. But here comes the Chen. He does have a Centaur, so they're really baiting out the surge for as long as possible. Avalanche in conjunction with the Centaur stun. They are going to get the nice trap, and Chen gets first blood with the help of Test of Faith and the Centaur. Nice coordination by 3D Max as they seal the kill on the Darkseer. Pretty important. Going to give Tiny a lot more free farm. So nicely done by the Dire. Meanwhile, Pudge has finished the bottle, but looks like Magnus is trying to dive in. He does get the shockwave, one more hit. Magnus does have higher than average base move speed, but Pudge with that bottle going to battle up. And now Magnus got in a very awkward position, as he's going to try to get some support, but that support is very slow in terms of coming. A shockwave once again draining Whitebeard's HP. Whitebeard trying to look for a hook opportunity. Going to try to get it. He does just level up to level 4. Wisp does come in. Magnus caught in a very awkward position, but he should have another screw up very soon. But now he's completely out of mana, trying to get the kill on the Pudge. And meanwhile, Wisp is going to slowly get that regen up on Pudge. But Magnus should be just fine. He does have the bottle, and he's going to find himself an invisibility rune. Oh man, I guess he thought that the Radiant already took the rune, and didn't even bother to check out that there is an invisibility rune on the bottom lane. So, no, that's the Dire ward. So I guess Magnus just saving it for later? Not too sure what Magnus is doing. But now the Radiant do have the opportunity to pick up the rune if they truly desire. Meanwhile, Bounty Hunter are getting a lot of experience, so Fnatic messing up a little bit as the creep equilibrium pushed all the way to Bounty Hunter's tower. And Bounty Hunter, all he needs is that level 6, and he's going to hit it quite soon if the creep equilibrium is improperly managed like this. Do they still have a sentry ward on them? That's a real question. They do. So Bounty Hunter can't play too aggressively, because there is another sentry ward waiting in the woods. As Pudge was driven back, and Pudge is going to be initiated on as a nice teleport in by the Twin-Head Dragon. Jakiro trying to get the last hit on Crit. One more auto attack, but no, the auto attack does miss, and Crit is going to salve up. Pudge does escape barely as the gank came in. Soul Catcher did hit on the Pudge, but Pudge, of course, very tanky hero, and I'm sure that Stout Shield did help out a decent amount. And Wisp finally takes the rune, so Dire going to be thwarted from that rune, but Sentry Ward going to be popped. Trying to scout out the Observer Ward, as Wisp in a lot of trouble, just going to tether on out of there. Not too sure what the point of that Sentry Ward was. But Wisp is going to escape, and that means Bounty Hunter is going to have some free farm. No, that was a Dire Sentry Ward, so never mind. The Radiant still have their Sentry Ward up on the Wisp. And meanwhile, since his support's migrated to gank the mid lane, Darkseer is a bit more content, going to stay in lane against Tiny, going to perform quite ably, as Tiny low armor, and it's going to take a lot of damage from that Ion Shell. Actually, Darkseer, maybe if he tries to dive in with the Ion Shell Surge. Probably does not want to risk it. Avalanche Toss, level 5 Tiny, definitely not something you want to mess with. And there's going to be initiation on the Bounty Hunter. Sentry Ward is placed. Bounty Hunter is going to take a lot of damage. Dual Breath going to fly in. Bounty Hunter dodging to the left to try to get out of the sight of the Sentry Ward, but Wisp does get the last hit with the Spirit. So nice gank by Fnatic RC. Going to pick off the Bounty Hunter, but Bounty Hunter is level 5, so only needs one more level and then he can start ganking around the map. And this Ion Shell going to town on this Tiny, poor Tiny. Rocks can't protect you from Ions apparently. Meanwhile, Pudge is about to hit level 6, does have the boots in his stash with Magnus, pretty much showing him who's boss in this mid lane. But actually Magnus, only 15 CS, so he's actually not even out farming the Pudge. Even though Magnus was doing a great deal of harassment to the Pudge, I definitely thought Magnus was winning the lane. But Pudge has really made himself stand there. Pudge, of course, the tanky hero, and I guess Pudge was anticipating that creep would die from the Shockwave, but only a level 3 Shockwave, not enough to kill that creep, and the hook does whiff. But Pudge is going to be content trying to guess the rune path, going to guess for the bottom lane. Meanwhile, Sven, 37 CS, already has the treads, probably going to go for maybe drums into BKB, may just go for an outright BKB rush, but Pudge does pick up a haste rune, and he's going to go to work on this Bounty Hunter, but that Sentry Ward did spot out. It was placed just near the rune, so I think Bounty Hunter did realize that the Pudge was there, has a rune, and now Bounty Hunter going to play very, very defensively. Meanwhile, Darkseer caught in a very awkward situation. Gonna pop the Ion Shell on himself, try to do a bit of damage to the Tiny. Avalanche does get whiffed, and now Tiny's gonna be in a lot of trouble. Gonna try to toss the Darkseer back, but the Ion Shell gonna do a lot of damage. Here comes a vacuum, but Tiny is gonna escape with the help of Crit, but Crit constantly taking damage while Darkseer was in disruption, but it looks like Darkseer realizes that he has to get the heck out of there. Ice Path does whiff on the return of Crit, so still 1-1. A lot of action, but not too many kills. And Pudge has migrated to the top lane, trying to get a hook, surging in the Twin-Head Dragon. But the Dual Breath completely whiffs. Nice juking by the Tiny, and the hook whiffs as well. So Pudge wasting a bit of time, but Magnus going to roam top as well. Has no mana, so I'm not too sure what he's doing. I guess the bottle is going to be ferried towards him. He's going to get a lot of mana that way. You know, Chen, not yet level 6, so doesn't have the Hand of God just yet, but they are going to try to smoke up, it seems like. No, they're just going to try to get in there and try to pick up some kills, and Whitebeard might just give it to them, as the Avalanche does get disrupted, so a bit of damage going to be prevented immediately off the back, but the Skewer going to immediately kill the Pudge, and now Derp going to be slowed by that remnants of the Skewer, and there's going to be pause. And it looks like Fnatic paused, so Derp can't even complain. But let's see if Derp can juke. Does not have boots, so he's gonna be dead in an instant as a toss into the Shadow Demon. Shockwave gonna clean up the kill. Magnus picks up a double kill. Gonna go a long way towards finishing the rest of his core items. May get that magic wand and then start saving it for that Blink Dagger. But it looks like Dire have a comfortable lead at this point. Well, not really comfortable, but they have a lead at the very least. But they do have to worry because Sven pretty much farming at will. 1 point to Warcry to get that 12% move speed bonus, 1 point to Cleave to help his farm accelerate. Meanwhile, Darkseer being fully revealed all the time by the Trek, as Fnatic gonna pause yet again. Take this time to look at some early goal graph, very, very insignificant at this stage of the game. Only 8 minutes in the game, but experience graph is in favor of the Dire. Meanwhile, hero levels, you can see the Twin-Head Dragon really suffering. And the Wisp is suffering as well, so that relocate gank's gonna be very, very delayed. And Wisp does want to get some levels, try to get level 11 so he can have that short cooldown on relocate, so he can actually gank all across the map. And I do think that the Dire do have better late game with the Magnus Tiny Bounty Hunter combination, but that's Sven getting so much free farm. Definitely going to be a concern for the Dire moving forward. Meanwhile, Bounty Hunter is just waiting in the Woodworks, trying to wait for a teleport in. They are revealing the Darkseer. His Shadow Walk is going to expire, but there's going to be Janata hit. Tobacco going to be in a lot of trouble. Toss coming in, but not enough mana for the Shuriken Toss. He's going to keep diving, trying to hope for the mana desperately. One more mana tick. He does get the Shuriken Toss. I think he did get the track gold as well, but there's going to be a hook on the mid lane. But Magnus so very tanky, and Wisp just now there to reinforce, so did not chain the stuns properly. I think this is on the Europe server for game number 1, so Fnatic North America might be suffering in that regard. But still, Fnatic North America getting outplayed at this point. And there's going to be Smoker to seek gank. Shen, not too much mana to work with. Crit, not too much HP to work with, but they do have some creeps to do a bit of damage, get the stun going. And Whitebeard might just be in a lot of trouble, as the seeing eye cannot see everything. And 3D Max just going to wait in the woodworks. That Observer Ward is there, but since they are smoked up, really cannot tell. There's going to be a hook. It does miss yet again, hits a creep. And now that might be the signal for 3D Max to initiate, as there are 4 heroes mid, but unfortunately none of them have too much mana to work with and not too much HP to work with either, and Whitebeard is now in position. The smoke has been dispelled, and he knows that they were smoked because the ward did not see them that whole time. No, that was the dire ward anyway, so my bad. As there's going to be a hook in, going to catch the Magnetar, going to stun him in place. Stormwall by the Sven, going to clean up the kill on the Magnus. Meanwhile, Banner is going to be driven away. Sven wants blood, he smells blood, but completely out of mana. But still, a nice counter getting it, and keep in mind that 3D Max were wasting a lot of time with that smoke gank. Could not get anything accomplished, could not get a tower kill, could not even get a hero kill. And one teleport in by Sven managed to secure Fnatic at least 1 kill. And they desperately need to try to get themselves back in the game, because Tiny's farming up all the while. As Tobacco going to work that avalanche toss, just barely enough, but the vacuum does lift, and Tiny manages to get the last hit with 1 hit of his meaty rock fist. But that vacuum range decrease and the vacuum casting point decrease definitely hurt the Darkseer in that regard. So those small nerfs do take a toll on the Darkseer in the long run. So 2-5 as crit is going to be revealed by that nicely placed sentry ward. That was definitely intended to try to scout the bounty hunter from getting the tracks in, but now the Radiant know that crit is waiting in the woodwork. Not yet level 6, but the sentry ward going to fully reveal crit, and now crit is going to back off because the creeps did hit him. And now he knows, oh, you have a sentry ward there. I have to back the heck off. Bounty hunter, meanwhile, going to continue his farm. We'll see if he goes to traditional bounty hunter build, drums into Vlad's, into BKB. As hook whiffs, as Tobacco blocked the hook. These hooks have not been too aggressive, but the vacuum to Stormbolt was, as they get a full 3-man gank. Vacuum setting it up, trying to redeem himself for that failed kill attempt on the top lane. And that is going to help Fnatic push down this middle tier 1 tower and try to cement themselves an early game advantage. But keep in mind, Fnatic do have to win the early game. I do still think, even with the farm spend, that the 3D Max guys do have a better late game. But Sven holding on to a lot of gold. Glyph is fortified. Pudge gonna hide, waiting in the waitings. And they're not gonna finish off this tower, so looks like they're content to continue to farm. But that's definitely gonna help about in terms of experience. You can see the experience graph was hugely in favor of the Dire, but it's gonna swing back around and even up as the game goes on because of that 3-man Stormbolt vacuum combination. Sort of like a mini reverse polarity in and of itself. Meanwhile, this Darkseer pretty underfarmed at this stage in the game. 0-3-3, only 33 CS. And Rolo makes a smiley face. It's Darkseer gonna die in the blink of an eye. Tiny doing very, very well. As is Sven, so it might just come down to a full-on man fight between the Tiny and the Sven as this game goes on. Tiny's already finished the drums. Meanwhile, Magnus, very far away from picking up a Blink Dagger, does have the Arcane Boots at the very least, so he can continuously spam those shockwaves and help out the mana regeneration of his team. Shadow Demon just hit level 6, so he's going to have the Demonic Purge at the very least. Sven goes for a full-on Armlet, so that's going to increase his DPS and his attack speed by a great deal. And at this stage of the game, you know, Armlet toggles might just save his life, as there's going to be a hook, but just barely lifts crit, as crit does a nice dodge, but I don't think the hook was long enough anyway to hit those Asian hooks. Except I don't know if Whitebeard is Asian. He has a white beard, so I'm guessing he is an Asian. But he might just be an old man. But the Tiny gonna get vacuumed and stunned. Gonna get worked on by the Sven, but there's gonna be an offensive teleport in by Derp. Avalanche gonna hold in place. Nice dodge by the Tiny. Here comes the Sven. Hasted Surge Sven with an Ion Shell. You cannot run, you cannot hide, but here comes a Wisp in conjunction with the Pudge. And there, that means the death of at least a Chen, but Tiny got away. And that relocate gonna send Wisp back. Who will he take with them? As Sven pretty low in terms of HP, and the God Strength is gonna wear off right about now. Meanwhile, the Dire do take the middle tier 1 tower, and there's gonna be a reverse polarity skewer combination, gonna immediately pick up 2 kills. Crit gets a disruption as well. Jakiro and Sven do take the fall. Darkseer does manage to surge himself away, but guess what? Demonic Purge is waiting in the woodwork, so those spirits did so much damage. But unfortunately, they did run off. So it looks like the Dire secure themselves a nice lead, and they managed to get the middle tier 1 tower, so that's going to give them a nice boost in terms of confidence. So this game seems pretty back and forth at this stage. Huge gold lead for the Dire, especially with that tower taken. And they have a significant experience advantage as well. Chen is level 7, so he does have that Hand of God still waiting in the woodwork. Wisp did die towards a Tiny. I guess Tiny just walked up to him and Avalanche tossed him. And he's going to pick up the Yasha. This Tiny's getting so farmed so fast. And I don't even think Bounty Hunter's been in a lot of these engagements. Did not get too much track hold, but May did. Going to go for a very fast BKB. The only thing that goes for BKB on the side of the Radiant is that Pudge Dismember. So Bounty Hunter, once he picks it up, will be essentially immune to magical damage.
Dire's middle tower is under
and we'll see what the Radiant really need to do. They do lose in the late game, especially since Sven died. And this Tiny's getting very, very far and very, very fast. Now he's going to start going to work on the Aghanim Scepter. Especially in conjunction with that Empower bonus damage, which has not even been skilled just yet. Rather wants to increase damage from Skewer. 7 Magnetars only go for 1 point into Skewer because the cooldown remains the same at every level. But the damage does increase. Does the slow remain the same? Looks like the slow does scale. Meanwhile, there might be a gank as Sven does pick up Invisibility Rune. The hook misses again. The Spudge not on top of this game. Might be the lag, but Crit gonna take a bunch of damage from Sven. Gonna self-disrupt himself. Meanwhile, Magnetar held in place by the Dismember, but reverse polarity gonna hold Sven in place, and now Sven is gonna be in a lot of trouble. Gonna armor toggle, desperately try to get himself out of there. But again, 2 ultimates used, Dismember and God Strength. Not the longest of cooldown ultimates, but they want to keep that God Strength for crucial situations, and it's going to be down for the next 60 seconds, and Tiny picks up a kill on the Darkseer. Don't know how Darkseer dies to a Tiny, but he just got Avalanche tossed. This Darkseer really, really suffering, and Darkseer's really had a big problem throughout this entire tournament. Maybe we've seen the weakness of Darkseer. Just beat him in lane, and just beat him over and over again, and he will just get shut down. But you can pretty much say that about any hero. Derp caught in a very awkward position. As Pudge, will he finally land a hook? That's a real question. Shockwave gonna push the creeps back. They want this tier 1 tower. Pretty important to his Roshan positioning, but they definitely want both of these tier 1 tower, or both of these towers on the bottom lane. There's gonna be a reinforcing teleport. Magnus, here comes hook in. Gonna get the hook on Crit. Crit does take the fall. Skewer gonna pull the Pudge back into place. Shuriken Toss, not enough to kill the Pudge, but Magnus Shockwave is. Those spirits doing a bunch of damage, and Sven relocate. They relocate out at the worst time. But still, looks like Banner will take the fall. Wanders back in terms of tower range. That's in towards scaling out the Banner movement all the while. So even though relocate did happen, all did not go wrong for the Radiant. And they picked up 2-1 in favor of the Radiant. Can they get the bottom tier 1 tower? That is the real question. As Derp pretty much out of mana, does have enough mana to cast the Ice Path of 90 mana. So ridiculous that mana cost is. So then trying to finish the BKB, but there are a couple ultimates that go through that BKB. Reverse Polarity goes through BKB, Demonic Purge goes through BKB, as it's going to be a hook in. Looks like Magnus is going to take the fall. Nice hook by the Pudge, as that Radiant Ward did definitely scout the movement of the Dire. And there's going to be another hook, but Pudge did not guess right, did not guess the timing of the movement of Crit. But those spirits, looks like they are going to reveal Crit's existence. And Pudge gonna try to get another hook, as 3D Max thing's so laggy, so maybe it's US East. But there might be a huge engagement. Tiny is here to join the party, whiffs the Avalanche altogether. but he's going to work his way towards the Aghanim Scepter. Tiny has not yet been touched. It's 6-0 and 3.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
Meanwhile, Sven does pick off the middle tier 1 tower, getting himself a nice gold. Gonna go a long way in towards finishing himself that BKB. Another hook whiffs completely. Not even close. And the Radiant had a ward there. So, I don't know what's up with this game, but these hooks not been that impressive. Tiny gonna wander back in. He finally gets a hook. Self-disruption gonna save the life of Crit for a little bit. Will he die? He's gonna try to escape. Hand of God gonna be enough to save Crit for now. Does get the disruption. Tiny gonna go to town, but he's gonna take so much damage. Nice skewer by the Magnetar. Gonna save the life of his carry, but can he get out of there? They did get the tower at the very least. Wisp buys back, gonna try to relocate in. And meanwhile, Sven gonna take a bunch of damage as it looks like Bounty Hunter wants to get a kill at the very least. Wisp teleports in, relocates in actually, and Magnetar does not have a risk play. Wisp does get a kill on Crit the Shoudium, but Sven gonna take a bunch of damage, a couple more hits, but Surge gonna surge him back away. And that's gonna end that engagement 1-for-1, but Wisp did buy back. So 2-for-1, as Jakiro did die as well. And the Dire got a tower, so Dire gonna be pretty content with that. They used a couple of ultimates, but it was well worth it. Got a tower, got a couple of kills, and Tiny almost has a finished Aghanims, and his farm will just go through the roof. And now Magnetar gonna get some points of that, and Power gonna increase his own damage and his Tiny's damage by a ridiculous amount. Meanwhile, the Radiant know that Sven is there. Sven, you're in a lot of trouble, my friend, but it looks like Wisp is blocking the Pudge. Trying to go from a different angle, but looks like Pudge is going to be thwarted for now. But now Crit might be in a lot of trouble. Does get the hook, but nice disruption. Going to at least prevent the bite, as Demonic Purge going to be enough. Here comes the Shockwave. Can they get some more spirits, as the Surge is going to go on to the Darkseer, but it looks like Crit is going to escape for now. Skewer going to get the Magnetar out of trouble for now. Vacuum going to fly in. As Bounty Hunter is there, I do not know why they casted Wall of Replica. Both teams playing a bit weird. But it seems like Dire are going to be just fine. Crit uses Demonic Purge, but 50-second cooldown, not too bad. And Bounty Hunter did get hooked, but unfortunately no detection for the Radiant to scout out that hook, hitting the Bounty Hunter. And Pudge knows that he couldn't do anything, even if he did get the hook. Bounty Hunter himself has almost finished the BKB. Mechanism is finished on the Chen. Crit, of course, supporting, does have Smoke Deceit for any approaching ganks, and Magnetar has finished the dagger with 900 gold in the bank. Meanwhile, Tiny is going to have to finish Aghanims up very, very soon. It might just be fully on the courier. No, farming for that point booster still. They might just be waiting for the Tiny to finish the Aghanims before they go for a push. But they're putting on the map control. You can see the Radiant map presence very, very limited at this stage in the game. Not just due to the towers, but just through the relentless ganking pressure, as it's going to be Avalanche Toss track. And Tobacco dies yet again. You know, it looks like the Radiant do know that there's a ward up there. Saw the movement with their own ward. But the Radiant are just being pincered. They cannot escape this part of the map, it seems like. And they are really struggling to make anything happen, as Tiny's going to roam back in, complete out of mana, but Arcane Boot's going to do a nice job refueling everybody's mana. And 30 max is going to work. Blink in, Skewer trying to get the Sven, but unfortunately does whiff. But the Aghanim Scepter is going to be finished on the Tiny, and that courier going to make that journey to get that point booster and finish the Scepter. And now he's going to carry a bigger old tree. He's not even level 16 just yet, so his damage is about to increase even more when he finishes that. And he's going to get that cleave and that increased damage to towers. And his farm is going to accelerate by a tremendous degree, as it's going to be a Storm Bolt, but no backups. That was just an intimidation Storm Bolt. And Tiny, with his ridiculous move speed, with the Yasha, the drums, and the phase boots, is going to escape quite easily. Almost 500 move speed with the phase boots activated. Pretty strong, using all his drum charges. Meanwhile, look at the experience in the gold graph. The Dire gold graph is going to increase even more as Tiny farms up with the Aghanim Scepter. Experience graph heavily in favor of the Dire as well. 5k gold difference, not the biggest gold difference to overcome, but the positioning and the movement and the fact that the Dire do have a strong late game leads me to believe that the Dire have a significant advantage. Mechanism is not even fished on Darkseer 25 minutes in the game. Pretty bad farm for him. But Sven has finished the BKB. We'll see if the Radiant can take advantage of that. And there's going to be a huge game in the mid lane. Bounty Hunter does get the BKB up, but Sven teleports in. Reverse Polarity going to hold two people in place, as looks like the 3D Max squad trying to escape, but a Surge Sven completely out of mana to cast that Storm Bolt. But at least they get the courier. Moral victory for the Radiant because they got the courier. But Sven has not yet used a BKB charge. Meanwhile, Banner used one of his BKB charges, could not get any kills. Used Reverse Polarity as well, and the Radiant got a courier kill. So overall, a definite victory for the Radiant, even though they didn't pick up any kills or any towers. They still managed to win a small victory themselves. And Twiddad Dragon does have a Dust of Appearance. Not too sure about 3D Max's movement, going so deep with the Reverse Polarity on cooldown, but they are going to kill Jakiro in an instant, and another hefty track bounty going to be enough, as it's going to be a Blink Skewer. Does miss yet again on the Wisp, I think, and there's going to be a huge engagement on the top lane, as Wisp does save the life of his Pudge. Nice map awareness by the Wisp, as Tiny going to be thwarted from picking up a kill, but he's going to continue his farm. Going to try to go for that AC right now. And once he gets to AC, he will hurt so much. Keep in mind, Empower is not even maxed yet. I don't think we've even seen Tiny with Empower on yet. Can pretty much one-shot entire creep wave once he gets that Empower on. Meanwhile, 3D Max is going to camp the top rune. They do have a Smoker Seat. That might be what they're waiting for. Radiant Ward is not in position to scout out the movement of the Dire. And Tiny's going to cleave this camp in a matter of instants. Radiant's not going to be too happy with that, so they're stacking for Sven, but there's going to be an Ice Path onto the Tiny. Can Tiny escape? Tiny's caught completely out of position, but he does get away from the because of the Chen Test of Fate. And now Sven going to mourn the loss of his creeps. And Jakiro going to have some dragon on dragon action. Going to pick himself up 200 gold. Meanwhile, this Pudge has not had a noticeable impact on this game thus far. Really been unfortunate for them. And there's going to be a tiny Avalanche Toss. One more hit, the double damage, increased range, or the Aghanim's Scepter, increased range by the Tiny, enough to clean the last life out of Pudge. And Tiny, with that so great move speed, manages to pick off the retreating Jakiro as well. And now its middle tier 2 tower will definitely take the fall. And Magnus is going to be there to reinforce, so he's going to be a Blinking Skewer to clear out the Darkseer as well. This is going to mean a middle tier 2 tower, maybe a bottom tier 2 tower as well. Or maybe they're just going to switch for the Roshan. They do have the Blinking Magnus, so they might just go for the high ground. Looks like that is what they're intending. Tiny's going to retreat for now. They're going to just give up that top tier 1 tower to the Sven. And they're going to take some pot shots on that middle tier 3 tower. Is the Radiant Glyph up? It is up. But this tower going to fall so fast. With the Empower and the Tiny damage, plus 112. Doesn't even have anything like an AC just yet. And they forced out the Glyph and almost killed the tier 3 tower. In exchange for a tier 1 tower, I think that was pretty worth it. They didn't get the tower, but they did so much damage that they'll die to one more hit by that Tiny. They're going to go for the Roshan fight. After everybody respawns, this is a bit of a curious move as the hook just barely misses the Bounty Hunter. These hooks have just either barely missed or just been completely off the mark for this Pudge. As the Dire feinting a Roshan attempt. We'll see if Radiant take the bait. Still a significant experience and gold graph, or gold difference for the Dire. They are definitely on top of their games today. But the Radiant going to maneuver themselves into position. There's going to be a Stormbolt vacuum, immediate cleave. Everybody, or 2 heroes die. Bounty Hunter and Shaodim take the immediate fall. And Roshan still at half HP, so nice team fight by the Radiant. Dire definitely had their positioning all messed up. And they're going to try to pick off the Tiny, but Tiny's going to escape for now. Nice engagement by the Radiant. has that vacuum been so crucial in conjunction with that Stormbolt to picking up a couple kills. And with Magnetar dead, looks like the Dire cannot contest this Roshan being taken, and Sven's gonna happily add it to his collection. As Tiny comes back in, he smells blood, he wants it. He's gonna go in, and he's gonna die. Oh, test of faith. As he does manage to kill the Wisp. Wow, Noya managed to killing the Wisp and then get immediately sent back home. Nice decision by the Tiny. And he's just gonna continue to farm. But Crystallis has been facial, and Sven gonna try to go for that Daedalus. It's gonna be finished relatively soon, in about 1700 gold. And once he gets that, he will just out DPS the Tiny with that God Strength on. So this might just turn into that man fight I was hoping for. Tiny versus Sven, mano y mano. And we'll see, do they have a Vlad's? Is there a Vlad's on either side? That would really help both teams, as there's gonna be a disruption. As my mouse bugged out, my bad guys. But Darkseer did take the fall. But is there a Vlad's on either side? The lifesteal that both teams would get from the Vlad's, or both the main carries would get from the Vlad's, would be pretty insane. And with Darkseer dead, looks like the Dire want to push in even though Sven does have an Aegis. But if they kill Sven, that God Strength will be down. So that's probably the thoughts that are going through their head. Pudgy denies the tower, knowing that was one hit away from the Tiny. So might as well give up less gold. There's going to be a hook gonna get crit in place. Magnus trying to maneuver himself into position, but realizes that it's not worth the reverse play just to kill one meal. Sven is going to be demonic purged. And there's reverse play, catching two heroes. Tiny gonna go to work on these guys, and they're gonna die in a matter of hits. And looks like the Dire are gonna go for the finishing blow, as Darkseer died yet again. I think he bought back, but Sven gonna die in 3 more hits. Sven does not have buyback. He is gonna take the fall, gonna be hooking for the bounty hunter, but it might just be too little, too late. And it looks like 3Max gonna take it pretty convincing game 1. As Tiny just cleaning up the barracks. Crit does take the fall. 3Max take the middle barracks. Kill the Aegis, kill the Sven again. Forced a couple buybacks. They're going to be very, very happy with how that engagement shaped up. Trying to go back in for the Tiny, but Tiny doesn't care. Pudge does get the suicide, but Tiny literally two-shotting everybody. And he's going to go to work on Derp. Derp has no chance of escaping with the track, with the face, with the Yasha. No chance of neck, and he hasn't even finished the AC. So that means the range barracks, and probably a bottom tier 2 tower as well. Most likely they're going to migrate top to finish off that tier 2 instead. As Darkseer going to take so much damage, one more hit, the Shuriken Toss is going to be enough to clean up the kill. And man, the death blow, the death hammer, once it swung down hard by the 3D Max squad. Tiny don't care about no backdoor regen, just gonna go right through it. What you gonna do about it? Can't do none. And gonna be sent back home to fight another day. Tiny hasn't even died this game. And he doesn't have any defensive items, just is so fast, does so much damage. And that Chen has been on top of this game with those tests of faith, sending him back home. Tiny, 8k gold in the bank, sells the drums because at that point it was completely useless. He's gonna have the finished AC. And he might just finish the finished Daedalus as well. No. Oh, wow. Very close to finishing the entire Daedalus. Constantly keeping enough mana or money to save for buyback. Not even going to finish the AC. Taking a look at the graphs. Pretty much tell the entire tale of the game. Rain had an early game ganking lineup, they could not exploit it. Darkseer died way too often on that top lane. Really hurt them in terms of the map positioning and the map movement. As the top Nisora tossing in the hasted Magnus, but nobody's in the jungle for the Rain to find. Rain, if they get another magical Stormbolt vacuum combination, they definitely have a chance of taking a team fight. But they need everything to work. They need to kill Tiny. Even though Tiny has buyback, they need to focus him down. And hope for the best, as the hook whiffs yet again. This Pudge hook accuracy, not too impressive.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
Meanwhile, both teams in a Mexican standoff. And the tornado constantly revealing. The tornado vision has been reduced to 300, but still, that flying vision. Pretty important. And looks like the Radiant do want to defend this tower. Can they make anything happen? Tiny kills it in about 3 hits. Has the Daedalus, has the AC. Finished it in about 200 gold. But he's probably just going to save for buyback. Doesn't want to give the Radiants any openings. And Sven farming off the mid lane, trying to finish an item, does pick up a Hyperstorm at the very least. But this tower gonna just die in literally 6 hits. I think that was 6 hits. How many times? How fast? Oh, BKB Sven, Stormbolt gonna go to work, but Tiny just walked out of there. Looks like both teams lagging. Magnus gets reverse polarity, duking it out with the Tiny mono e mono, but it's not enough. As he did significant damage to the Tiny, but unfortunately, again, not enough. And the Dire are going to take game 1 of the semifinal series in convincing fashion. As Whitebeard, you might just want to lay off the pudge for a bit, as these hooks have not been impressive. Tiny picks up a finishing rampage. Very, very suitable on how that game went. As we're going to go to game 2 of 3D Max vs Fnatic North America. We'll see if the North Americans can turn this game around. But we'll see what server, as I don't know. I guess both teams are suffering from lag. I'm not too sure which server this game is played on. But I'll let you know which game the next game is played on, as we're going to go into game 2. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys very, very soon with game number 2. Follow me on Twitch and subscribe to me on YouTube, guys. Thanks.